Hello and welcome back to Princess Evangile. Before I could even answer, she clicked on the recorder and turned the mic to me. I bent back in my chair and asked her the question that had been bugging me. Do you always carry those around with you? Oh, of course. My microphone, recorder and camera, my holy trinity. Right. I didn't quite know what holy trinity meant, but, well, it sounded impressive. Messiah-san, this is a good opportunity for us. What? Well, we need to let people know who you are. It would be best for us to make use of mass media. That's right. Our news club publishes the newspaper daily. We leave them in the classrooms in the morning, so give it a read tomorrow. Right. A school newspaper that's published daily? Bloody hell. Can there really be that much news in a school? We didn't have the main edition because, well, it's the first day today, but look, we published an extra. Tammy pulled out an A3 size piece of newsprint. Amazing! An extra about what? It would be a disgrace to the new club's name not to publish big news like this, right? Fresh off the presses. Take a look if you want. Thank you. Thanks. It sure is frustrating though. Even with our network, we couldn't break the story earlier. It happened in the middle of spring vacation, and we wanted to avoid causing a fuss. No one even saw you. How long have you been here? Since April the 1st. What, April Fool's Day? Is this whole thing some massive joke? And you've been in her room the whole time? Yes. Well, I see. That would explain it. But, oh well, it's fun to get a bombshell dropped right in your lap at the start of a new year. Tammy-san, are you... Yeah? I don't mean this in a negative way, but... Well, you talk like a normal person. I mean, that is to say, a lot closer to what I'm used to. Oh, well, I guess that's true. Probably because I'm an intermediary course tourist. Well, that's something I've been wondering about. What is this intermediary course? Oh, primary, intermediary, and final course are the stages of Venice's education. Oh, I see. The primary course building is out on Mount Armuro as well, but in a different location. The intermediary course building is, well, right in front of us. Now that you mentioned it, there were two school buildings facing each other. I see. So what did you mean by tourist then? That's... Well, enough about me. Messiah-san's the interview here. Right, yeah. Though I am still eating. Tammy seemed like a very forceful person. Let's start with what brought you here. It seems like it must be a strange set of circumstances. Am I right? Oh, I never thought they'd find a proper student for the, special scholarship. And yet you're here. Plus you're not a freshman, you're a second-year student, which means you've had to transfer. And I think everyone would like to know how you ended up here. How about giving us a statement? I glanced over at Rai-san and she looked back at me blankly. What is it? Well, should I be honest? What do you mean? You acted wonderfully that night, Messiah-san. But, what about what happened before then? About my, background? Since, in a way, I threw away my whole life so I could come here. Which means I had the kind of background that, well, it's okay to make a wash of. I don't know if that's okay to say that flat out or not, but I can't just lie about it either. Messiah-san, you were referring to your family situation, I suppose. Well, yeah. That it makes you feel inferior? Yeah. Messiah-san, the child and the parent are entirely separate people. Rai-san leaned forward and looked sharply into my eyes. The person who should feel ashamed is the man who earned that debt, not the person he forced it upon. That's what I believe. I believe that you yourself are a fine man. So please, relax, give your interview. Right, I will. Oh my, you two just met, haven't you? If you've already won the trust of a soul deal... Flamin' French. I can't decide if I hate trying to pronounce the Japanese stuff or the French stuff more. Actually, I'm English, so we haven't... Let's face it, we spent the best part of 2 millennia just not quite at war with the French. except for the parts where we were actually at war with the French. So yeah, on principle, I hate the French stuff more. For the record, I have nothing against the French, it's just fun to say. Plus, let's face it, half of our train stations in London are named after places where we've won battles against them. Yet you've already won the trust of our Soleil de Coal. I know everyone will be surprised by the excellence of my judgment. Oh, that would remains to be seen. Well, Messiah-san, let's get to the interview. Time was short, so I had to do it quickly, but, well, I told her the story from beginning to end. Rice-san addressed me as we returned to class. That's right, I forgot to mention, but would you come with me after class? What's going on after class? The chairwoman mentioned it this morning. The officers of the White Lily and Red Rose Societies will have to come to her office. I'm an officer in the White Lily Society, so I have to go. I thought it might be nice if you came along. I'm sure the discussion will be about you. Got it, but, what are the White Lily and Red Rose Societies? They're the student council servants. Well, rather, they're supplementary societies. Well, I'll explain it to you after class. Got it. After class, I went with Rice-san to the chairwoman's office. Before we hear what the chairwoman has to say, let's review your place here and Venice's current state. Yeah, let's do that. Something just happened that, well, my head's still spinning. First, Venice's current state. We're losing students, and the reconstruction of the campus buildings has left us in dire financial straits. In order to recover, we need more students. However, given the trend of the last few years, that does seem unlikely. The only reliable method would be to accept boys to the school and become co-educational. Of course, there are those that oppose this idea. The board of directors was split for a long time until the chairwoman finally made a ruling. She said that we would accept one sample male student. That, of course, is you, Messiah-san. Right. What is the purpose of the sample? Because the question of reform is to be decided by the students themselves. But because so few of them have experienced the company of boys before, they won't be able to make an informed decision. As the chairwoman said, male transfer students will be needed to help guide their judgment. Naturally, we don't expect you to represent the entirety of the male sex. Yeah, that's one thing I'm not sure about. Shouldn't a sample involve, a few more people? Was it just that you couldn't find anyone else? No, they wanted just one student. I was also consciously decided. Why? Well, the traditionalist board members demanded it. Can you imagine why that would be? Because they don't want boys in the school? Oui. But I believe this was a mistake on the part of the traditionalist faction. A mistake? Why? Well, to find 51 good people out of 100, or just one, the latter is easier, don't you think? Well, yeah, I guess so. That's how much we're counting on you, Messiah-san. Right. The mission of the scholarship student, or, well, rather what we hope to see, is for you to change how the others feel. Let me make this very clear. At present, it is safe to assume that the entire student body, I am the only one in favour of reform. I see. Everyone fears change. I know that as well as anyone. But they know the school will close otherwise, right? I mean, how can you be the only one? Let me make an example. Have you ever thought about your own death, Messiah-san? What? At some point within the next century, you will die. Have you ever thought seriously about that? No. Neither have I. And I believe this may be a similar mindset at play. I see. But I want Venice's to stay here forever. Rice had said that once before. She was hoping for reform because she loved St. Vinice's. And there is another reason as well. I believe we would be better off as a co-educational school than as an all-girls one. Really? Because I know how indispensable men really are. Huh? Well, setting aside my personal opinion, there are only two sexes in this world. It seems odd to dismiss one of them entirely. Yeah, I guess so. Well, Messiah-san, from now on, your duty as a scholarship student is to make those around you accept your presence. In other words, to make them think I deserve to stay... sorry. This is the problem with the text box being constant in colour. In other words, to make them think that I deserve to stay at Venice's. That's right. And the first test will be at the end of the first trimester. I really do feel quite sorry about that. No, that's fine. Rai-san sounded genuinely upset about it. Miyuki-sama was very insistent on that point. Puts the scholarship student and the reform party at a great disadvantage. Oh, that's right. When Marika-san arrived, I thought her last name sounded familiar. Yes, Miyuki-sama, the board advisor, is Marika-sama's grandmother. Which means that Mariki-san is against us. It is likely. Her expression was very serious. As the tutor saw, Marika was bound to carry a lot of influence. Rai-san was solid to call, and clearly had a lot of influence of her own, but I'm starting to feel very nervous about this. Either way, it would be hard to pass any reform if the elected student body president wasn't in favour of it. I believe the first vote will be a low hurdle, though. At least, it's easier to accept than school-wide reform, don't you think? I guess. It's true, though of course we don't want to declare victory just yet. Rai-san spoke the words as if it was a warning to herself, and then continued. Then, at the end of the year, we'll hold the grand vote. In actuality, this vote is just about electing the next student council president, but it made sense. The president's voice was so irregular that there wouldn't be a system in place for it. All the students in the student vote in the student council election. This is the same everywhere, right? Okay, on student council elections. The last student council election I was aware of, yes, we technically had a vote, but I think the turnout was something like 2% or something ridiculously small like that. And that's when they made it really easy for us by letting us do it online. That's right, it was the same at my school. And generally, anyone can announce themselves as a candidate, right? Yeah. Why is it different in Venice's? Technically anyone can, but, well, you could call it precedent or tradition. Usually there can only be two candidates. One's the head of the White Lily Society, and the other head is the head of the Red Rose Society. And those were the two groups that have been called to the chairwoman's office. Ah, so it's American politics. Technically anyone can run for president, but if you're not the Republican and/or Democrat candidate, there is no goddamn point. Fair enough. By the way, unlike the president, the selection of society heads is done immediately after the beginning of first term. Oh, so it's coming soon, right? Yes, it's actually today. The vote will take place immediately after we speak to the chairwoman. Which meant that unlike the council elections, societies chose their own officers. Although we usually decide it amongst ourselves at the end of the third term, so really it's just a formality. That's to say, we've already unofficially been chosen. I'm the new head of the White Lily Society, and Mitsuka-san is the head of the Red Rose. Oh, so next year's election will be a contest between the two of you? That's right, and we'll each present our manifesto. Mine will be reform, and, well, Mitsuka-san's will be preservation of the old ways. In other words, the fate of the school reform came down to which one was elected president. You'd almost to say that they'd appropriated the meaning of the traditional grand vote just to represent the decision. Sorry, I can hear police cars zipping about outside. Wonder where they're going. In reality, it'll be the White Lily Society and the Red Rose Society. Mitsuka-san and I competing. But the real deciding factor will be you. So please, do the best that you can. Rai-san reached out to take my hand. I didn't have a lot of confidence, but, well, I did want to continue attending Venice's. Right. Irma. Hey, they're holding hands. She really is progressive, isn't she? It's just a handshake, you know. About a dozen people were gathered in the chairwoman's office. Ah, it looks like you're all here. I'm sorry I'm late. I was speaking to him about everything that's happened. Rai-sama, Masaya-sama is not a member of the association. Whoa, even I get to be Sama? That's kind of weird. I am well aware of that, but Masaya-san will be the subject of the conversation. Even so, now, it's no trouble. The chairwoman spoke placatingly. I'm not trying to give my granddaughter special treatment, but Rise is correct. It will be easier if he is here for the discussion. Very well. Mitsuko-chan, I would call her a mind, she was younger after all, diffidently relented. She's an officer then. Under which society? The students in the room were subtly divided into two groups. These were the White Lily and Red Rose societies, and Ritsuko-chan, who was standing with Mitsuko-san, was a Red Rose. I believe you all know why I've called you here. It regards next year's grand vote. When challenging the fundamental principles of school policy, naturally the people's will is required. Masaya-kun was allowed to come here to guide that will, but I don't believe that will be enough. I would like the White Lily and Red Rose societies to assist him. What do you mean? To shape the will of the people in the year to come, I want you all to work to educate the students in preparation for the grand vote. While I do not doubt the judgment of the Philadelphienses, there is a tendency to treat the grand vote as a popularity contest. I want you all to work hard to make sure that doesn't happen this time. You mean like every election in history? I'm sorry, let's face it, every election is a popularity contest. The one we've just had fairly recently in this country. One of the main reasons that the Labour Party did so badly is that their leader looked really silly eating a bacon sandwich, and the press jumped on that. And I'm sorry, I quite like the idea that in order to vote, you should have to fill in a questionnaire about, here's a policy. Which one do you agree with? This one. Here's a policy. How do you agree? And you don't get to find out which candidate you're actually voting for until you've filled in the complete questionnaire to see which policies you agree with. Cut down on the popularity and just make it purely about the policies. The only problem with that idea is it'd take the time it takes an individual to vote from 30 seconds to about half an hour to do it properly. That is what I called you all here to say. How do you feel, Mitsuki? Naturally, I have no objections. Everyone knows that the student council election will represent the school's future. I see. Rise? I agree completely. This was my intent from the beginning. I see. Then I expect both associations to work diligently on the matter this year. Are there any objections? No particular objections came from Mitsuki-san's group, but from Rise-san's group, well, in other words my so-called allies, a voice spoke up. I cannot participate, although I do not disagree with you in concept. Why is that, Yumi? Because I'm against reform. That's right. Rai-san said she was the only one on the side of reform. Just because they were members of the White Lily Society didn't necessarily mean they agreed with Rai-san's ideas. So to tell me that I must act to aid reform, well, if I may be blunt, it's ridiculous. Yumi? Pardon me, Rai-sama, but I absolutely refuse to participate in this task. No, I'm sorry. I spoke thoughtlessly. I was thinking of the White Lily and Red Rose's blocks. I failed to acknowledge that their members have their own beliefs. The girl named Yumi looked at the floor in silence for a time, and finally spoke in a whisper. It's just that... well, the eventual fate of our school will come down to the results of the grand vote. And so I... She untied the ribbon on her arm. Yumi! I returned this to you, Rai-sama. She held the ribbon out to Rai-san, who took it wide-eyed. It was then that I noticed that she was wearing the same ribbon on her own arm. Not just her. Mitsuki-san, Mitsuko-chan had them too, though the colour was different. Excuse me. And she left the room hurriedly. Another student addressed Rai-san. It appears the lion's share of the work for reform has at some point been pushed onto our association. Rise, do you intend to fight this battle under the banner of reform? Yes. Then I cannot participate either. One refusal came after another, and in the end all the members of the White Lily had left the room. Rice stood there, dejectedly, with countless blue ribbons in her hands, staring at the door from which her allies had gone. I was so naive. I just assumed that the members of the White Lily would agree to help me. Even though I knew from the start they were against reform. So what will you do, Rai-san? You seem to have lost all your allies. Okay, Good lord, how long is it since we had a decision to make? Wasn't that back in the first episode? So, about 2 hours ago, basically. Jesus Christ. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Get the fish by the toe, wait for squeals, let it go. Eeny, meeny, miny. Speak. Not all of them. What? I'm here. Sir-san. Listen, you can't just join an association. The positions were chosen last year by a vote among the previous members. We all had to go through the voting process. You think you can just waltz in here and... I may not know much about Venus's organisations, and, well, I may not be an official member, but I don't care. I'm still going to help Rai-san. You can't possibly object to that, can you? Mitsuki-san let out a huffy breath and turned back to Rai-san. Well then, Rai-san, what do you intend to do? The White Lily Society members have all returned their ribbons. Do you really intend to compete in the ground vote without the backing of the White Lily Society? Yes, of course. Rai-san nodded definitely. You've always been strong-willed, and I always... Monokagi Masaya-san. Yeah? I am against you, against boys and against integration. I mean no offence, but I intend to get you out of here by the end of the first term. Excuse me. And with those clipped words she marched from the room, her footsteps ringing behind her. Bellepine, do you feel the same way? I would feel uncomfortable overturning the way things have always been. I don't particularly like the idea of having classes with boys. Well, I suppose that stands to reason, but still, I suppose that makes me a true traditionalist. In that regard, Mitsuki-sama and I are the same. I see. Will that be all, Madam Chairwoman? Yes, I think so. Then if you will excuse me. The Red Rose members left, one by one, till it was just us and the chairwoman in the room alone. I suppose we will be going as well. Salutations, Grandmother. Yes, salutations. Rai certainly has found herself a very fine young man. Now then, this will be quite difficult. But despite Rai's son's words, I could sense a smile in her tone. But I think it will work out somehow. We just need to work together. Objectively speaking, things had gone quickly from bad to worse. But for some reason, well, I felt a strange sort of confidence. As long as Rai-san did everything she could, things would work out. Yeah. I gave her a firm nod and shook her hand again. And this time there were no students around us, no whispers to accompany it. Let's face it, they're buggered. I see. I see. So that is what happened. I really was surprised. I never thought she would try it alone. She isn't known as the Solar Decol for nothing, after all. But I'm afraid Rai-san's going to lose this time. You can't win an election without officers backing you. Yes, that is true. But for safety's sake, I believe I should drop out as head of the Red Rose Society. What do you mean? Well, it is true that Rai-san is much more popular than I am. Oh, don't say that. You're very charming, Mitsuko. Even so, I think that Ritsuko would do better as head of the society. Ritsuko? There's no rule against a freshman leading a society, after all. That is true. Bellepine's popularity is equal to Rai-san's. If she was to lead the society, our victory would be assured. Have you spoken with Ritsuko about it? I don't believe she'll refuse. You are likely correct. Oh, One-sama, please just tell me one thing. What is it? You know you can ask me. What is it? You know you can ask me anything. One-sama, what do you think about the reforms they're proposing? Mitsuko, do you know what I treasure more than anything in this world? Maintaining the peace of St. Venus's. And that is because I am La Tutasora. Ah. Well then. Well, I believe the first thing to do is to determine his character. Would you come with me, Mitsuko? Yes, Mom. Oh, great. Time for a personality test. And that's the end of Chapter 1. How many chapters did it say there are? So they're like 24, and we're 2.5 hours in.
第2話再会の幼なじみ
Childhood friends reunite. Is that kind of like Avengers Assemble, just less interesting? Sorry. And now I've got an image of Captain America standing, childhood friends, reunite! I love the way my brain works. Seriously, I just get random flashes of completely stupid things, and it is wonderful. Huh? What? I thought I heard a knock just now. Definitely a knock. I glanced reflexively at the clock. I thought it was only 5:30 AM. And? Get up, you lazy bum. I was up at that time this morning. Who's knocking at this hour? Regardless, I slipped out of bed. Oh, so cold. It was still cold in the morning at this time of year. It had been cold on the night I met Raisan too. Yeah. Yes? Salutations. Salutations. What? Is something the matter? No, I figured it was Sister Mishima. No, I fear it is merely Mitsuki and I. So I see. Do you need something? It's pretty early. Forgive me, I thought it would be best to come early, so as not to upset the Fila della Venices. What are you talking about? Please, allow us to search your room. What? Forbidden object. What the hell's that meant to mean? I have heard that boys often carry forbidden objects. We wish to check for them. What do you mean by forbidden objects? Well, I'm referring to, you know, pornography. How would you make me say it? I didn't make you say anything. But I understood what she was trying to say. Well, you don't have to worry about that. I mean, they checked my belongings when I first moved in, so... I cannot believe you. Huh? I cannot believe you until I see it with my own eyes. There was something upsetting about being cut off with a smile like that. Well then, remove your pyjamas. Huh? You may have something in your pockets. It's not as if we have asked you to remove your underwear. Okay, assuming he's like a lot of boys, we don't wear underwear with our pyjamas. She was really smiling. Maruka-sama give you an order. Now take off your clothing. You realise if the gender roles were reversed, this would be a pretty major case of sexual harassment, right? But now! Right. I removed the school-provided sweatpants and sweatshirt and stood there in a t-shirt and boxers. Cold. Now leave the room. Huh? Do not say huh. We cannot search your room while you are still here. That's true, but... Quickly now. We'll call when you're finished, so take this phone. Now, take your nakedness elsewhere. Why? She pressed my cell phone into my hand and forced me from the room. Do I really have to stand outside like this? Oh, no. We can't send him into the hallway dressed like that. I fail to see the problem. But... Could you at least return my pyjamas? Listen, One-sama. Saya-san can't... Mitsuko, do you know the most important thing? What? First, the question of whether the sanctity of the room has been maintained. You will not catch cold being outside for less than an hour. Well, that is certainly true. The Gospels say that it is hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. That goes even more so if one carries unsavory objects. Now, Mitsuko, we have little time, so we must continue searching. Yes. God, they are terrible people. Right, this seems to me a pretty decent point to end this part, so thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next.